Hello and welcome to our first new show of 2013. We've got a great slate of segments on today's show, including a pizza eating contest of immense proportions, a local volunteer award in search of a deserving recipient, an interview with the author of the book, The Healing, and much more, including this first segment, a local nonprofit organization that does the grocery shopping for those who need it most.
18 ounce.
Is that, I don't know if that's the right size of
It says
gift.
18 ounce, but I don't know what we got here. This is 28 ounce.
They're out of the other one.
I would think that it probably would be okay. I don't know.
That the other one's on sale, so we're going to ask if they'll give us that one for the sale price.
Okay.
Yep. So we should have a red flag.
We are at Cub Foods. We are store to door. We're a local nonprofit grocery shopping and delivery service, and we shop exclusively at Cub Foods for aging adults throughout the Twin Cities.
Oh, wait a minute. 2 English muffins. Wait a minute. I only see one.
Okay.
Our goal is to help people continue to live independently in their home. Basically, you have to be 60 years of age or older and living in the 7-county metro area, and for some reason decide that going grocery shopping is too difficult for you. We're a nonprofit, so we utilize a lot of volunteers. We have about 150 volunteers who take orders over the phone. So they call the customer 2 days before their delivery date and ask them what they want to order. And then today is the delivery day for some of our clients, and we have a whole nother set of volunteers that come in and do the shopping.
I love the mission of store to door, helping people who are unable to do things for themselves, and it's just great. Here at Maplewood, we shop Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And some people choose to shop one day, some people choose to shop 2 or 3 days. So it just depends on what your availability is.
We like to say that our volunteers are the eyes, ears, hand, and feet of our clients in the grocery stores. So we do our best to get them exactly what it is that they want.
I love to shop, so that's good for me. I can get out and shop and spend somebody else's money. So it's my retail therapy, letting me get out and stroll the aisles.
All of our clients pay for their own groceries. Cub is a great partner and is able to give the Cub ads to our clients directly, so they don't have to clip out the coupons. But they can use manufacturer coupons as well. So it's just like grocery shopping from home. And then we do ask for a delivery contribution, and that ranges from $3 to $15 depending on household income.
And then Dawn Renewal dish soap, you'd order 9 ounce. The smallest they have is 20 ounce. Yes. Is 20 ounce okay? All
right. The program
right.
started in the early 80s. A researcher by the name of Dr. Berger was looking into at what point is it that people have to leave their homes and can't live independently in their homes, and he found it was the point when they could no longer get food. And so he went out and tried to find a partner for this idea of grocery shopping for seniors, and he didn't have much luck in the nonprofit world. So he and his wife and their station wagon took about a dozen clients and started to shop for groceries. And now we're here almost 30 years later, and last year we provided over 18,000 deliveries to 1,500 clients.
It's a terrific program. The people that run the program store to door are great. They do everything in their power to try and get every item that the customer requests. And it means so much to Cub too, to have them shopping right here with us, you know, and our associates are terrific at helping out store to door, giving them total time and devotion to try and get all the items that the customer is looking for.
The orders you'll see will go directly on the line. Each customer gets their own Cub receipt, and they get boxed into a box, which the driver then puts into the refrigerated van, and he drives it to each person's home. He doesn't leave things in the lobby or outside, but he actually goes into the kitchen, unloads the food, and then that's at the point where the client pays for the food. It's a very rewarding experience to know that you've helped someone get their groceries. Our clients are very independent and don't like to ask for help, so we try to do the best to keep the dignity and respect that they deserve by getting them what it is that they want.
I totally enjoy it, and I totally believe in the mission of store to door, so I'll be here until I can't shop anymore.
Let's stick with our fantastic senior citizens and check out how living the golden years will be even more golden for residents at one local senior care complex. Well, we're here inside Cerenity Senior Care in White Bear Lake, and we're in a room that will soon undergo major renovation along with some other projects happening here. And to tell us more about it is Peg Black. She's the Community Development Director here, and Chaplain Scott Cartwright. Thanks for having us here. Peg, tell us what's going on at Cerenity Senior Care. There's a lot of construction going on outside if you drive by.
Absolutely. Thank you, Judy. We are just beginning a 3-phase project, and what our construction team is doing outside right now is working on a new 40-bed transitional care building, also a wellness center for therapy, and a warm water therapy pool. It's going to be very exciting for our community.
And Scott, this is, I guess, part of your digs here with the chapel. So what is this room going to be transitioned to?
Well, this room, which is currently a chapel and a multi-purpose activity room, is going to be changed into really dining for the residents as we make smaller dining rooms for each smaller groups of residents in certain neighborhoods of the building. So, but that means that we will not be having this chapel, and we're going to be building a new chapel out in front of the building.
Very cool. Well, how many people are you serving here, Peg?
Well, presently we are serving about 184 people.
Okay.
We will be increasing our transitional care, which is short-term stay people.
Sure.
And decreasing the number of long-term care people. And this is pretty much the trend in nursing care for seniors across the nation, is that community need is experiencing a lot more short-term stay, a little bit less long-term. And we also, our 3rd phase of our project will be a new assisted living and assisted memory care building.
Very cool. Talk a little bit about some of the things you're most excited about, and I know you're going to mention the pool for one. What are some of the things that you're most excited about?
Well, obviously the pool. We are having a state-of-the-art warm water therapy pool. The entire floor of the pool raises and lowers into the pool, so you can wheel a wheelchair right on it, or a person in a walker can step right on it, and the whole pool floor goes into the pool. And the floor is also a variable speed treadmill. And so it's not a recreational pool. It's only about 8 feet by 12 feet. It can accommodate about 4 people doing their therapy at a time in it. But it is something that is going to be fabulous for our residents.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. There's not a lot of those in Minnesota, as far as I understand.
Absolutely, it is very, especially in our area. There is not another one in this area.
Scott, anything that you're particularly excited about?
Well, I'm excited about the whole thing, actually, having been here a number of years. But the chapel itself is going to enable us to have larger groups and not nearly as crowded in what we're doing, but we'll be able to accommodate not only large groups for worship services and for Mass, but also for community gatherings within the building that we have. And then there'll also be accommodations for a separate prayer room that can be accessed 24/7 by anybody, anytime.
Awesome.
So that'll be part of
Nice.
what we have.
Yeah. Obviously, it costs money to do these renovations, and you've been fundraising, but there's a really fun, exciting event that you guys are hosting here in this month in February. Tell us about that.
Yes, we're excited to have the Plymouth Playhouse original production of the Church Basement Ladies to a Second Helping, it's called. They're a nationwide touring company. They're just going to be coming in from Iowa when they do our event. It is 2 nights, Thursday night, February 21st, and Friday night, February 22nd, right here in White Bear Lake at Central Junior High School Theater. Very nice theater, holds 850 people.
Wow.
So that's going to be a fabulous event, and 50% of the proceeds from the ticket sales, which are $25 a ticket, will be going to Serenity's project.
That's awesome. That is such a fun event, and I know in talking with you before we started recording, as it turns out, you went to school with the director or producer of the play. He went to White Bear Lake High School, and
was quite a coincidence.
Yes.
Kurt Wallen is his name. He's the director. And that was just sort of by chance. Oh, I know that place really well, he said to me, because I went to school there.
Very cool. Well, the most important thing is obviously we've told people where they can, or when the event is, but where can they find more information? Do you have a website or something you can point people to?
www.serenityseniorcareevents.org.
Well, best wishes to you guys on all this great construction happening, and of course the play. That'll be a lot of fun. So thanks for sharing that information with everybody.
Thank you, Judy, for having us.
Back here in our studio, I'm pleased to have author Jonathan Odell and his latest novel, The Healing, as the focus of our local image interview. February is Black History Month, and Jonathan's book deals with what is a very dark and difficult part of our American history, that of slavery. Welcome, Jonathan. So great to have you in our studio today.
It's good to be here, Judy. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the book. It's been out for about a year now, and it's received great critical acclaim. I really enjoyed reading it. This is actually your second novel.
That's right.
Your first one, A View from Delphi, takes place in Africa.
No, in Mississippi.
It does, but the second book, The Healing, takes place in Mississippi as well.
Right, both of them take place in the same county with different times.
Okay, got you. And the time period for this one is during slavery.
Just before the Civil War, right. Slavery was still instituted in Mississippi.
Yeah, and in reading about you, I was, I guess, not surprised to hear that an author or a critic of your first novel actually assumed you were a black author.
Right, Kirkus Reviews.
And a female author at that. And in reading this book, I mean, the voice that you put to these characters and just everything makes the reader feel like you really know, what you're talking about, that it puts you in that place. So how does a white male author come to write a book like The Healing?
Right. I grew up in segregated Mississippi, Jim Crow, in 1950s, 1960s. So it was institutionalized racism. And I was kept separate from blacks psychologically. And after I lived here for about 6 years in Minnesota, I moved here in 1980 to take a job. It just hit me that my own personal history was incomplete, and it was embellished based on the silence of an entire race of people. And I realized if I was going to get my own personal story, I was going to have to learn what African Americans were going through at the same time that I was being raised as a little white supremacist in my little white bubble. So I just started going to Mississippi and interviewing randomly African Americans who grew up at the same time I did. Some were civil rights workers, some were field workers, some were preachers, some were teachers, some were maids. And I just wanted to know what their story was. It wasn't to write a book, it was just to find out what that silence was all about, that white supremacy kept down. And then even under this oppressive Jim Crow, that most of the heroes were female, which struck me differently. I had learned about the black preachers and the black teachers, the Martin Luther Kings and the David Montgomerys and etc., but I'd never heard about the black women who kind of lifted them up. So I said, I want to give voice to them. And that tied in with the way that I was raised, because it was the women's voices that were the background of my life. The men kind of sat on the porches and were depressed and talked about hunting and cars.
The way men do.
You're right. But the women all went to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And they talked about the exciting stuff, the family stories. So women's voices are the ones that are the background of my life. They were the background music.
Yeah.
So they come to me.
And, working in community television, as I've done for many years, I take great joy out of hearing people's stories and sharing them within our communities, and that is really kind of at the heart of this book, isn't it? Tell us a little bit more about the book.
Yeah, through the thing I discovered through reading my own history and then reading history through the ages, the first thing that conquerors do when they take over a civilization is kill the storytellers. Because it's very important that the people who are in charge, the despots, are in charge of the narrative.
Right.
For example,
Controlling
the narratives, the conquerors are always the good guys, and the ones they conquered are always the bad guys. And I realized we had done this with African American history as well. We had made African American history subservient as a handmaiden to white history. And most of the black accomplishments had gone unnoticed, unwritten about. So I wanted to write a story about the other side of slavery, which most books that you read, slaves were victimized. And of course they were, but they were still human beings. And under oppression, under the silence, they created their own ingenuity, their own music, their own spirituality. I believe they invented the cotton gin. They created the most effective agricultural techniques. In spite of everything the white masters did, they created a bond of friendship, a bond of family. They created their own story and held that story close. And I wanted to write a story about a storyteller, a woman that uses healing as a way to subvert white power. As she says, once you've been healed by a black person, you can't be a slave anymore. You don't look to whites to save you. We can look to our own people, to our own rich history.
Yeah, and that is Polly Shine.
That's Polly Shine.
She comes into the story as this elderly black woman who the master purchases for quite a bit of sum of money and has this great expectation that she's going to heal all these sick slaves who have fallen to cholera and other diseases. And it was interesting to me that a lot of the other characters in the book, you know, were very uneasy about her. They didn't like necessarily her. They kind of thought witch doctor type stuff.
Even the other slaves.
Yeah, and so it took a long time for them to kind of, I guess, figure her out or whatever. But did you know anyone like that in your history, or how did that character kind of come to be?
Two ways. One is through a lot of reading through WPA narratives. If you want to tap into the Shakespeare of our era, of our country, it's ex-slaves were interviewed after 1930, 1940, and they talked about their experiences. And so their actual voices are down in words, and it's beautiful about how they survived, how they kept their souls together during slavery. The other was I interviewed midwives, and one was a woman named Ms. Willie Turner. I'm smart enough at that time to actually tape that interview. It's on my website. She was a 92-year-old midwife who lived in Midnight, Mississippi. She had caught 2,093 babies.
Oh my goodness.
And she did this during Jim Crow. And she did this without relying on white folks. She built within her own community a sense of unity, a sense of story, a sense of kinship. And she was actually doing a lot of advanced medical procedures. She had taught herself because she had to. There was nobody to teach her. So she invented her own incubators before she even heard of an incubator. Her own potions, her own teas, which now, of course, pharmaceutical companies are making fortunes off of. So there were voices like that tipped me off that there's a whole story of ingenuity, of genius, of brilliance that hasn't been tapped into yet. And just a side story, I was doing a group of interviews, some columns for my hometown paper in Mississippi, and the mayor of Laurel, Mississippi is a black man now, the very first mayor of Laurel, Mississippi. So I sat down to interview him and I said, Mayor Mack, I said, tell me, what's your most proudest accomplishment? And he thought for a minute, and then he said right away, I thought he was going to say something like fighting racism or the Klan or getting an education or poverty. But he says, I was one of Miss Katie's children, which meant the proudest thing that happened to him when he was birthed by a midwife named Miss Katie, who happened to be Leontine Price's mother, which I found out later.
Oh my gosh!
But these midwives were able. They were a source of pride, a thread of pride and heroism within the black community. Still are.
Absolutely, and there's awesome characters in this book, and it's just a riveting story, and it takes a reader like myself who doesn't have a lot of background or knowledge of that time period to a place and just opens my eyes to a lot of new things to think about. And so I really enjoyed the book. Is there any other message that you would like readers to take away from your book?
One of the reasons I wrote this book and picked Polly Shine as a hero was that one of my black friends, Don Samuels, who's city council person, told me when I was about to write this book, he says, please don't write another To Kill a Mockingbird. And I said, but I want to. And it won the Pulitzer Prize. It opened up the eyes of so many young white kids who went on to be working in the civil rights movement. He says, no, we're past that. He says, we don't need one more book in which black people need saving by a white man. I don't want my kids to read one more book in which they are told that they need to find a white man to save them. If you're going to create a hero, he said, I don't care if she's a drunk, I don't care if she is a crook, but let her stand on her own 2 feet. Don't make everything that she does be dependent upon how a white person views her, thinks of her, or does. And that's the message, is that oftentimes when white folks present the story, the best we can often do for our white heroes is to make them victims that we can save, to make people feel sorry for them. But African Americans have this rich this rich thread of heroism, which we've ignored, that we need to bring back into our history, so it's no longer white history, it's American history.
Well, you've done that in this book. I hope everyone goes out and reads it. It's The Healing, and it's up for a Minnesota Book Award.
Right, it's one of the finalists.
That is, so good luck with that.
It is in paperback now. So.
And I also want to mention that the book has been chosen for this year's Mahtomedi Community Reads program, which will start this spring, and then you'll probably be coming out in the fall to review the book with the folks. So that's awesome. We're excited about that. What a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on the program today, and best wishes. Okay, thanks again. Now, here's a story from photographer Troy Sepian that you may find hard to swallow. Take a look.
That's 6.75 pounds. We are wide enough. Transfer it over to 80 ounces. Okay, so we're going to divide this up. We're going to have this right-hand side, the Canadian bacon. $450 pepperonis. This is enough to make about 12, 13 pizzas. Quite a bit of cheese, so we're going to dump that on there. And then we'll spread it out.
Today I'm taking on the 36-inch pizza challenge with my teammate Molly Schuyler.
I'm excited and I'm not hungry.
And it's never been done before. We have 30 minutes. If we complete it in under 30 minutes, we get $1,000.
Let's see what happens.
And go.
I wish I would have eaten that sandwich today. It's a good pizza.
hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Full. I thought towards the end, the last 5 minutes, that they might not get it done.
Eating is fun.
Normal process is chew, chew, swallow, don't throw up, don't throw up.
Thanks for staying with us. Our next local image interview focuses on an important award that recognizes a very well-deserving volunteer in our communities. And here to tell us about it and how you can nominate someone for the award is Mahtomedi City Mayor Judd Marshal. Welcome, Mayor. Nice to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me.
This award, it's the Stanley and Doris Hill Award. Who were they and why was this award, started on their behalf?
They were very active in our community and in other communities. Actually, Stan was the treasurer of maybe as many as 30 different foundations over the period of his life. And he was instrumental, along with 2 or 3 other people, in starting the Mahtomedi Area Education Foundation, the White Bear Lake Area Education Foundation, and the Century College Foundation. And so after he passed away, it became kind of important to at least a few people to say, what can we do to keep this man's image alive and to encourage other people to volunteer the way Stan and his wife Doris did. And she was very active in other community activities as well. The main event will be at Century College in April.
Okay.
And that date I think has been set, but I'm a little hesitant to mention it at this time.
We'll make sure that gets out. And also, it's kind of neat because we typically cover that event through On Location TV 19 so people can see it after the fact as well.
You do. You've done a very nice job for us.
Thank you. And you've had this award now for several years. Who are some of the past recipients?
Well, I just happen to have a list.
Well, there's been quite a few.
There have been. I think it's 6, because this is our 7th year of making the award. And 2007 was the first year that we gave this award. And it went to Bill Rust, who many people know.
Right.
And then the previous superintendent of schools here, Ted Blessing. Then Ellen Bruner from Mahtomedi. Lori Allness. Carol McFarland, who everybody knows.
Yes.
and Jackie Reese, all outstanding
absolutely.
examples of volunteerism.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier the deadline for the applications is February 22nd, so they don't have a lot of time to pull it together, but it's not a lot of effort to write the application. Where can people find the application?
The application will be on the website for Century College, Mahtomedi Education Foundation, White Bear Education Foundation.
Okay.
You might even get it at the city halls in White Bear and Mahtomedi.
Perfect.
And then you can download it, or you can go there and they'll print out a copy for you.
Excellent. Well, we know it'll be a great recipient again this year, and we'll look forward to finding out who that deserving person is. And we want to thank you for coming on the program today to tell us about it. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your help.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Please join us in March for more great community stories. Until then, I'm Judy Skyboss, and I do thank you for watching Local Image.